Hello there, beautiful people. So, welcome back. My name is Carol, the Tarot Reader, and today I'm going to be talking about tarot books for beginners. Now, these are just tarot books that I recommend for beginners, meaning these are tarot books that I have read, that have went through, that has truly helped me out along my tarot journey. So, the very first book that I want to talk about is Kitchen Table Tarot. Now, this is by Melissa Cynova. Pull up a chair, shuffle the cards, and let tarot talk. This book looks pretty busted because I used it up. But the thing that I enjoyed about reading this book is, first of all, what I want to say is that when I first decided that I wanted to learn how to read tarot, I picked up a couple of different books and I started a lot of different ones and never got to finish any of them for whatever reason. Now, Melissa Cynova was the first tarot book that I picked up that I read from front to end, and yeah, she has she puts her own voice and character. I feel like into the read, which makes it not boring to me, and she's very straightforward. Like, I don't know her, I never met her, but her vibe, at least through her writing, she just feels like very straightforward individual. And because of that, kind of the kitchen table tarot, the title seems very fitting for her, even though I don't know her. But anyway, um, and then the secondary thing that I really liked about this book is the way she teaches tarot. She teaches it by the numbers, meaning when you get to the minor arcanas, you're going to go through it 1 through 10. And for example, here with the nines, that's just where I stopped. She'll have like a blurb about the nines and the nine of pentacles, the nine of swords, and also what it means if it's inverted, the knight of wands, knight of cups, and so forth. And she's going to go through it until you get to the 10. So you learn tarot in that manner. Now, the next book I want to talk about is Barbara Moore. Now, she has also another teacher that I never met before, another mentor that I don't know, but she feels, at least through the read, through her writing, very grounded and definitely born to be a teacher of some sort, because I felt like um, I was able to understand the cards better. I felt like I took the class twice, but she had a different way of putting, I guess it's just a different way of speaking about the cards. And and she's also the one that got me to use a traditional Rider-Waite deck. So even though I may have read this first book and it was great, blah blah blah, I still didn't know how to read tarot. And it wasn't until I read this one and she got me to get a traditional Rider-Waite deck. And that made the biggest difference in the world. And I also recommend that to anybody trying to learn how to read tarot, is you have to start with your foundation. And where it starts is it's just the Rider-Waite deck is just kind of the way to go, only because it's a traditional deck. And once you learn that one, you could basically read any deck after that. And it's true. And I just had a big like resistance against it because it just felt too white. I don't know how to say it, but anyway, I got over it, and I love the Rider-Waite Smith deck. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is one of my favorite authors, period, in the world of tarot. I want to say is Teresa Reed. So Teresa Reed, I've actually, if you're on Instagram, please follow her. She posts like twice a week, and she gives you a little glimpse of what's going on with your astrology, I guess, for the week. And I love it. She's always on point. She's always on it, and I just like her vibe. But anyway, about her book. So this book, Mastering the Art of Intuitive Reading. Now, she had a different way of teaching. Now, the intu like I was able to now put the cards together. It started to make sense because I actually used her like some of the techniques that she taught in here, some of the techniques that she advises you to practice on, and I actually applied them and took them, and I noticed a huge difference. I was able to actually read them. They started to make sense to me. Whereas before, I could lay out two cards, but I would have a hard time, maybe creating a storyline to it or connecting those two cards. I would just always read them individually, which there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But with this book, it just started to make sense to me. I was like, oh, I know how to read tarot now. But um, and I also learned tarot in a different manner here because, like I said, with these two first books, they teach it by the numbers. Here, Teresa Reed does not teach it by the numbers. She's going to go through it by the suit. And by the suit, it has a different vibration, different energy, because now when you go by the suits, now they carry, for example, pentacles carry earth energy or more of a materialistic energy. And it's just a different, um, you're just studying it differently now. And now you're gonna jump into like the wands, let's say, and that's different energy versus the cups. The cups is different energy, and the swords. And so I found I felt like I just took a whole different tarot class, and that's why I really enjoyed her class. I actually got to meet Teresa Reed in person. Was it this year? This year I got to meet her in person, and she's a great person. She's hilarious. She's funny. And did she sign this book? She signed all of them. There you go. She signed it. Yes. Thank you, Teresa Reed. I definitely did learn how to read through this book. I give this book a lot of credit. Like there was a lot of, I remember when I first started reading in metaphysical stores, things of that nature. And I would always go to this book. I would always carry this book along with me when I would get done with a reading. And for whatever reason, if I had a question afterwards that I just didn't, maybe I got stuck on a card for whatever reason, like after the client left, then I would go back and I would reread and kind of restudy the card for whatever reason, because sometimes it happens where you just kind of get stuck. It doesn't, thankfully it hasn't happened recently, but I remember in the beginning you just stumble and it happens, and when that happens you just go back to your, I don't know, to your roots, I guess. All right, the last book I want to talk about. Now, the last book is not an actual, this is a tarot book. Obviously, it's a tarot book, but it's a guidebook that comes with the Everyday Witch Tarot deck. Now, Deborah Blake, this is the first deck that I learned how to read that was not a traditional Rider-Waite deck. Everyday Witch. Now, the reason why I like this deck and this book was because the drawings and the symbols were very similar to the traditional Rider-Waite, so it was a good like beginner's deck to learn how to read that wasn't quote unquote traditional, even though it has a lot of traditional symbols embedded in here. But the reason why I want to introduce this book is because now I don't know this author either, Deborah Blake, but she as well. I read this book and it gave, how do I say this? It did broaden my understanding of the cards. And I really enjoyed it. It was very simple, straightforward. It's an easy read. It's not gonna, how do I say this? It's just an easy read. It's very straightforward. With each card, you just have like 3 paragraphs that go with each card. Okay, 2 paragraphs. But it was enough information for me to really, really understand what was going on and to really start understanding how to start reading different decks that were not traditional Rider-Waite. And that's why I like this deck. It was simple, it was easy, and I felt like I was able to understand and put together. I'm like, oh, now I can understand why now I could pick up any deck and now read off of it. Even though that's not the purpose of this book because it's just a guidebook, but I thought it was a really good guidebook to go along with that tarot deck. Like if I were to ever, I was gonna say if I were to ever purchase one deck that came along with the book as well, I would probably purchase this deck because it comes with the book if I was trying to save on money. But I would still recommend that you start off with traditional Rider-Waite's deck. But the symbols in this deck is very similar to Rider-Waite, so I feel like you get away with it. But anyway, these are the books that I recommend for beginners if you're trying to learn how to read tarot for yourself or for others, whatever it is that you want to do. Follow your corazon. All right, have fun playing with the cards. I hope you guys enjoy today's video. All right, bye.